Welcome to the Choice, Change and Action podcast. Yes, where you get to choose, change and take some action to create a different today and a different future. These are my stories of choice and change and the amazing guests I have on here. Personally, from a really young age, I've always desired to create a change in the world. The earth has been a massive inspiration to me, and Access Consciousness has shown me and given me the tools to know that anything is possible. Here is what I choose. What are you going to choose? Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Choice, Change and Action podcast. And welcome to 2022. 2022. It's like saying that is sometimes like Peter Piper picked a pepper, whatever. Anyway, 2022. Here we go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Yes. So if you are listening to this, it's like you can also, jump onto YouTube and we will have now, I'm not going to promise 100%. I'm going to say 95% of the shows you will be able to find on YouTube, because then that leaves me that, that leeway that I can actually do something off camera if I choose. So I, at the moment, am at home in Prigian Beach. It's a beautiful, bright, sunny day in Australia. And today I have joining me is Becky Vannes. Is that how you say your last name, actually?
Vanesse. Becky
Vanesse. Well, that's so much nicer. Isn't it funny? I've worked with you for quite some time now, and I've known you for a long time, but it's Becky. It's Becky Vannes.
We don't call each other by our last names. I'm not like Simone, Milasas, what are you doing today? So.
Well, no, it does in WhatsApp. When you do the ad and it goes Becky Vanesse. Yeah, I like that though. Vanesse has so much, so love it. So anyway, Becky works on we like to call ourselves a conglomeration of idiots. So which conglomeration of idiots, which shortened is a COI, C-O-I, is a whole bunch of us that, are heading in the same direction, and we have a hell of a lot of fun. So Becky works with me with that, with all my different projects, which is a hell of a lot. And there's more coming. Someone in my core the other day was saying, Simone, just because you see a space doesn't mean you have to fill it. And I'm like, yes, we do. Yeah. And I'm glad that we're actually doing this podcast today, because we're pre-recording it, as I do all of mine. And it's the 3rd of January here in Australia. And I just want to acknowledge something for everyone out there listening as well, in case this is going on for you. It's like, 2022 hit. And of course, we're in Australia. We're one of the first ones up. And there was this sense of ease and this sense of peace in my world. And then I noticed that I was like, I don't want to do anything. Nothing. Like, not even like, watch a movie. I was like, literally nothing. Yeah. And it was funny. I was talking to Gary Douglas, who's the founder of Access Consciousness, and I was like, have I lost my mojo? But not from judgment or not from wrongness. I was literally like, And one of the things he told me many, many years ago was sometimes your body, well, not sometimes actually, I'm going to let you on a little secret, ladies and gentlemen. It's like your body is quite often more aware than what you're willing to be aware. And is your body getting ready for what is about to occur? So the last few days, I've literally just been like, blah, and not doing much. And I've noticed today I got up 3rd of January and I had this like spark in my step, and I was creating from a different place as well, because I usually get very excited by a creative capacity. And one of the things I've been looking at is if I wasn't trying to choose a right choice or judging myself as wrong, then what creative capacity do I have here? Which is a great question. So many people sort of put this rightness and wrongness. Like, I know for myself, I was definitely looking at, if I made the right choice, that means I'm strong. And if I make the wrong choice, that means I'm weak. Neither of those is true. It's like, what if you could be strong in every choice you make and you never judge you? So that's one of my demands for 2022. And just relax into it as well. I know by the time you listen to this, we're, in the 2nd week of January, and this still may apply. So as I'm talking about it. So, So welcome to 2022, everyone. If you didn't listen to last week's podcast, please check it out. It's with Dr. Dane here, and it was absolutely fabulous. So Becky, thank you and welcome here. I just needed to get that out. So Becky has worked in a really diverse amount of industries. You remind me of me a lot in that way. It's like, you know, every time we have a conversation about something and you go, oh, hey, blah, 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 you know, and there's so many different things that you've done. Like, I know I would love to get you on a future podcast as well, talking about real estate, because I know that you and your husband did a lot of that. And can I tell you, my next door neighbors who I work with, Yaku and Percy, also said to me, did you know Becky was a bodybuilder at one stage? And I said, no. And so they found the photo of you on Facebook and showed me that. And I was like, holy shit, this woman. It's like, oh my goodness. It's like, talk about some muscles. So that's a whole other body podcast. So my point is here, we could go down so many different avenues. And the avenue I would like to walk down with you today, Becky, and take everyone down is being in business, and being in business on a retail side, dealing with clients and customers, etc., and how to have, I guess, like the most fun with that and the most ease with that, and make sales. Because hello, why are you in business? You know, there's a whole theme about why you're in business, but let's make some sales and not judge that. I see so many people who are in retail, or, you know, even if they're in a service industry, they have this judgment about receiving money from people. It's like, guys, it's your business. It's like, what if you started receiving way more money than you've ever received before? So can you give us a little bit of background of what you're currently doing and what you've done and working in that sort of retail business side of things?
Yeah. Well, what I love about even what you said in the beginning, even about the new year, like all of that kind of ties into, for me, with business. And even like the bodybuilding, like when I even did a lot of those things, a lot of times I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew that I was following an energy and a choice and like a possibility of something different. And so for me, what I'm currently doing is I do work for a couple companies, but they're in the Fortune 500 in America, you know, because I'm in the US. And for the past, oh gosh, I think probably 10 years, it's been in retail, market research, patterning, trending, sales. And it's been a lot of fun. You know, so that's one of the things, you know, that we kind of were like talking about when we got this idea. So what do you want to know about it?
Okay, so what here I want to look at something, because if you've been working for these major corporations, like, and listeners, this is what I would like to invite you to, is when you hear anything, take what works for you. Like, don't trust me, don't trust Becky, don't trust anyone or anything, like any course you've done, any book you've read. What I would like to empower you with is the knowledge that you know far more than what you've been willing to acknowledge. So what do you know about business that you have not been willing to know about business, that if you did acknowledge that you knew it, would change everything for your business and you? And everything at that is times a Godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. So that's the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. You can go check it out at theclearingstatement.com. And it's basically like, what if you stop referencing, like you mentioned some really key words there. You know, it's like the market research. Okay, so let's start with market research. It's like, if you weren't doing market research according to how everybody else has done it, what would you suggest how people start to look at that? Let's use, I'm going to use me as a guinea pig, and the antique shops that we have. Like Antiques and Possibilities is one in Coogee Beach, and we have two that are in Brisbane, Australia, and also Gary Douglas has GMD Antique. So it's sort of like a lot of different, you know, energies around the world. So what would you start to do to look at that?
Oh, well, the first thing, what I love about market research and then looking at your companies is, for me, market research is asking questions and then having no point of view. So when you're doing market research, you would have something that you would want information on. So if you're like, hey, I have all these people walking through my doors, but they're not purchasing anything, or maybe only like 1% is, you know, walking in and then the rest are walking out. So I actually probably would be curious as to, one, how did they find your place? What are they looking for?
Let's do that, because the shop that we have in Bridging Beach Village, it's as you call like a retail shop, it has a lot of foot traffic because it's got a really good position and it's right in the middle of the village. So there's restaurants, there's dress shops, there's everything. Like a lot of people, and the beach is across the road. So a lot of people come and they go to the beach and then they walk into the village and they're literally just, wandering around looking at shops. So like yesterday, one of the staff members actually pinged, we have a little WhatsApp thread, and said the shop is full. Like at 2:45 p.m, the shop had so many people in it, but we sold really minimal. And actually, I love that we're doing this podcast now. Timing, because one of the things that we were talking about is how to close a sale.
Well, there's a couple things though here. So
like, let's go back. Like,
there's a couple things here.
You can't lock the doors and take their wallets and say this would be good for you. It's not like that.
So when you talk to a little bit like about the experience that I have, there's a couple things that we look at when we would go into a store. So one of the big companies that I work with actually is a storefront, right? And they do billions of dollars of sales a year. Why? Because they've created an experience. And I think every place can have an experience, even an antique shop, right? Like, because you're coming in there, you can have places set up where, like you sit down and maybe this is where, like your living room would look this way, this experience you'd have here. Maybe you have like this cocktail area because there's a bar that you have, antique set up, like whatever you have, but it's really an experience. And so what we found in the highest in sales and like different marketing sales that they would create that did really well were ones where there's an engagement. So when people walk in the door, you have somebody up front or always somebody saying, "Hi, how are you doing? What are you doing? Like, what's going on?" Are you just looking? Can I help you? And, it really comes like with that piece can go all areas of business, so we're looking at your store here, but when you're actually asking the person questions and one, you're interested. So you're really looking at like what, even if they're just browsing, you can really find out what kind of, how do you decorate your home? If I was to come into your store and you're like, "Hey, Becky, we need you to go on the floor today." I'd be like, "Well, I don't know nothing about this." But I'd be like, "Okay." So I would be interested in them. So how do you decorate? What, what do you really enjoy? And then really just get what they're looking for. And then also for the future. So are you remodeling? Are you moving? Do you have other homes? Do you buy gifts? So that was like a piece that was really big for us when you're talking about retail, is one, really getting to know them. And when you're interested, you might not actually always have that sell right away, but you're creating a future with them and they come back. One for Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas. And then so you have those gifts. So I would say if you have the people in your store, they came in for a reason, right? Like you created an environment where it brought them in. But then, like you're like, okay, how do we, seal this deal? Like, what is it? Well, one, a couple other, things that you can add is one, being interested, engaging with them. And then how, once you find like even what their interests are, even if they're not looking to purchase that day, could you put something on them? Like, could you put some jewelry on them? There's something about actually them having the experience of like touching, feeling, like having that really.
It's like, "Hey, please sit down." It's like, "Do you want to sit down for a second?" We have some of the most comfortable furniture in there. Yeah. Can you just expand a little bit too? Well, I want to reiterate something too. When you're saying being interested in them, because I see so many people do this thing of they'll start to talk about a story about themselves. And it's like, in truth, guys, I hate to say this out there, but most people don't want to know about you. They love it. They literally like fall in love with you. Like they'll be like, "Oh my God, that person in that shop is so wonderful," when you ask them questions about them, not about you. It's like, it's always about them. And unless there's a real invitation to interact and engage in a conversation that's going both ways, I would definitely always keep it about them. I'm not sure if you've got anything else to add to that.
Well, yeah, I would always keep it about them. And if somehow goes in a different direction, I've always been really aware of like bringing the conversation back, like redirecting the conversation back to them. Right. Because once you have them talking about them, you can really look at like what they need. Like, gosh, maybe someone just passed away and you might be able to find a perfect gift for that. Like there's always something when you can really redirect the conversation back to them, you actually get more information about like what they require. And you might have an awareness of what they require and they're not even aware of it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I mean, we've got glasses in the shop. So it's like, do you drink? It's like whiskey. We've got decanters. We've got champagne glasses. We've got antique glasses. We've got just beautiful crystal glasses, And then we've also got, like I said, the furniture. It's like, it's stunning. It's like the couches. Like Gary Douglas, if you don't already know this, is the person who purchases so much of the goods for all of these antique places that he has around the world. He has this like this insane way of attracting all this stuff to him. I mean, he's decorated the whole entire castle that we have in Italy, Castle Borgoni, and then we've got El Lugar, that is this resort that we're starting in Costa Rica, and he keeps buying shipments, like containers and containers and containers worth of stuff, and then he's got all these shops, and we've got a huge warehouse in Brisbane, and it's full. And can I say, every single chair or couch that he ever buys is comfortable to sit on. That is one of his demands. It's like, what he always says about how, in this world today, it's like they don't make furniture like they used to. And they don't. It's like they don't make it for comfort. And he's like, if you're going to sit down, it should be comfortable,
Yes.
So I love the way he is like that. And so what else could you add to someone who... Okay, so you've got different scenarios of people walking into the shop as well. Some, I know what I'm like I like to be acknowledged, but don't hound me. Like, if someone says, good morning or good afternoon, etc., like that, hey, if you need anything, let me know. And then if I'm in the mood, I will actually create a conversation. But other than that, especially like an antique shop, like there is so much to discover. It's like, it's not like you just go and a dress shop where you're going to look at your size or you see a color, etc. It's like you can literally lift things up and look around and you're like, what is that?
Yeah.
And so what would be your sort of recommendation on how to deal with the different types of people that walk in?
Well, I would say hopefully that your employees or whoever, is in there working with you and for your store, that you've had the conversation to be aware of like what the person actually requires. There's a lot of things people will give you body language if, they're annoyed by you or, different things. And when you're willing to be aware of that person and what they actually require, because not everybody likes a lot of conversation, I can talk for days. Sometimes I want to talk, sometimes I don't. But when you actually have somebody that looks you in the eye, acknowledges you, can I help you? And then will be aware if you don't need anything and walk away. It's the energy of that, not that force. And then it gives you the space to sit down. I would invite them to have these shops that you're talking about are more of like an experience. It's not a sale, right? Like it's an experience of, with your body and sitting down. So I probably would invite them to enjoy the experience. And if they have any questions, then come back. But I also think that it's really easy to be aware of clients or people and what they require by what they say to you and their body language.
So one of the things that you and I both work with is access consciousness. And that's what my podcast has, access consciousness tools everywhere. Yeah. So in talking about this, it's like, what are some of the tools that you could offer that people could use?
Well, it's really interesting. So what are some of the tools? I'm sorry, my head just went in a total different direction.
Okay. But you know what? I just need to mention one thing as well and go in a totally different direction if that's where we need to go. Because one thing that was popping for me is I lived in California for quite some time. I lived in Santa Barbara. Yeah. And America and Australia, just because we speak English doesn't mean we're the same. Like, one of the things that always surprised me when I was in America, I'd be walking down the street and someone would go, that's a beautiful skirt you have on, or I love your hat, or whatever. And I'd be like, you were like, thank you. People don't do that in Australia. You don't comment on someone's dress. Like, it's very, very unusual to comment on what somebody looks like. And in America, it was, but it always was like this, like, oh, someone noticed my dress, I'll wear this again or whatever. It was such an acknowledgement. And in America, I think you've been entrained to be that with people. And I get when you truly acknowledge someone, it creates an engagement with someone that is beyond anything else you could do. So even if you did start with something like that, and if you're in Australia, it is a little odd. Like, but if someone walks in, like, they'll more comment on, there's a gelato shop next door to us, they'd more comment on the gelato, like, what's your favorite flavor or something like that, rather than you as a person and what you're wearing, etc. Or, hey, have you been for a swim at the beach or something like that? But it's like, what engagement could you play with? Like, play with it. Like, what if you could get it wrong? Like, right at the beginning when we were saying, the right choice doesn't make you strong and the wrong choice doesn't make you weak. Both of those are irrelevant. It's like, what if you just played with it? And to me, that level of vulnerability, like, even if you chatted to someone and then you notice that, oh, I've gone too far, they actually don't want to chat, and just go, you know what, I'm so sorry, I'm so chatty today, I'm just going to let you be. Let me know if you need anything. Like, be you in the whole engagement, but engage, whatever that is. Like Becky said, whether that's looking someone directly in the eyes, having a conversation, or leaving them be as well.
Yeah. Well, those are, I love that you even brought that up, because then I got something else and I was like, so for one, when I first started doing this like 10, 15 years ago, I had to go up to people and then ask them, hey, can I ask you a couple questions? And I would have to talk to, sometimes in a weekend, like 400 people, give or take. And there's this gut wrenching thing when, you're walking up into somebody's space. Are they going to tell you yes? Are they going to tell you no? Are they going to, reject you? Or, but the one key is that I did it anyways. And 9 times out of the 10, the people that I thought looked really grumpy and mean and wouldn't do it, and I asked anyways, were the best people that I ended up talking to, which I found fascinating. So you really have, you really, don't really know what's going on with people, or, how they'll react to you, until you're willing to just go for it. And, with the willingness to just choose and just do it anyways, like, it created so much in my world, and being able to interact with people, and, being wrong, and, all those different things. But what I also wanted to say is, you brought up something really cool. You're like, well, one thing that I found in interacting with people, and they would always purchase, right? Like, 9 times out of 10, what we were doing, we were like, hey, here's a new product. What do you think about this, before it was made? Because then, then they would either bring it out or they wouldn't. And I did, years and years of that. And what I found, if somebody can be like transported somewhere with this product, they're purchasing it. So if they're like, wow, those glasses reminded me of my grandma's china, like, they're buying it. Like, you've got, like, it's, like that nostalgic, when you take them someplace to maybe a point in time where they had some type of meaning for them. And so that's one of the tools too, with being willing to just ask some people questions to kind of get some of that information of that, like, their life and their experience with some of these products will really help you get clear on what they would like to purchase.
So I've got 2 things I want to add to that as well, because I mean, we're talking about, as an example, like the antique shop, a retail shop, but there's so many different types of retail, even in a restaurant. I appreciate it sometimes when someone will say, hey, would you like some help with the wine list, etc. And then a lot of the times, if I'm at a restaurant that I know too, it's like, I know their wine list is pretty good, or I know what I like, but I'm so grateful for the question, so that then I get to choose. So I love what you said, don't assume something about someone. And I had a really good friend of mine for a while in Australia, and he owned a company that worked in the mines in Australia. And if anyone knows anything, like it's one of the wealthiest industries in Australia. So, but he would always be wearing, flip-flops, shorts, sort of an older t-shirt sort of thing, and just very, very casual guy, multi-millionaire, and there's no way in the world that you ever would have thought that this guy had money, but he did. So also don't judge someone by what they look like according to, thinking of how much money they have or they don't have. And then while we're on the money piece, I would like to bring this up because this is something that I'm going to say I suffered from for a long time. A business that I had previous to where I work now was called Good Vibes for You. And what part of this business was about creating these designs, etc., that I had on merchandise, t-shirts and magnets and stickers. And for me, they were sayings that I had on them that I perceived that if someone read it, perhaps it would change their day and it would change the way they looked at the world and looked at each other. So for me, it was about changing the way people were in the world. Okay. Nothing about money. So what I noticed was I would be at these music festivals and, these stands, work in the markets, etc. And people would come up and they'd be like, oh my God, I love your designs. Are you the Good Vibes lady? Which is a whole other story because I sort of became the Good Vibes lady. And I would be like, yes. And as soon as they acknowledged that they loved my products and we had this conversation, I was done. And then they would go, I'm going to buy one or can I get one? And the first thing I always wanted to do was give them a discount because I wasn't willing to have money be something that was prevalent in my world. Like I honestly felt like a thief. Like every time I was doing this money interaction, I felt like a thief. But what it came down to was using the Access Consciousness tools, I realized I wasn't willing to receive money. I really wasn't. My point of view was like, what am I here for on the planet? It's like, change people's lives, the world, etc. I had all of these great big things that I wanted to address in this lifetime. And yet I wasn't willing to include money. So how many of you are not actually willing to include money? And everywhere that you have been avoiding money, refusing money, disdaining money, will you now please destroy and uncreate it? Right and wrong, good and bad, cock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. I'm actually going to play you. So I'm going to give you a couple of tools that I did because I see that occur so often. It's like, say we have some really expensive stuff in the shop and we have a lot cheaper stuff in the shop. But if someone has a point of view that you can't spend $50,000 on a necklace and someone's trying on a $50,000 necklace, then you're not going to make that sale. You're going to be, what you end up doing is projecting at this person this energy of like, that's too much to spend on a necklace. And it's funny, I've actually got these, if you are watching YouTube, obviously you're going to see, if not, you can flick over, is I've got these earrings on. I'm not sure if you can see them here, these earrings. And I was walking in Noosa in a place called Hastings Street, and I was with 3 girlfriends and we'd just gone and had a breakfast, and then we were going to this what do you call it, like a beauty place, just to have a spa and a massage, etc. together. And I walked past this jewelry shop and I'd been looking for something like more earrings. Basically I decided I needed new earrings. And so I walked past this shop and I saw them in the window and walked in, and I was like, oh, these are great. They were $11,000. And I went, yeah, I'll take them. And I was dressed so casually and, I'm about to go, get naked in this sauna, etc. Like I didn't have makeup on or anything like that. I didn't look like, but I could tell the girl went, like, she did this like jolt back sort of thing of like, you're just walking in and like, that's like, you didn't even look in the mirror that long. Because I just saw them and went, yes, it's a yes for me. And bought them this $11,000 sale. But I noticed I'm strong enough to go, I know what I desire. I know what I would like. And the energy of that person, I could have done that, like double think and go, people go, oh, I'm going to go away and think about it. Really? What are you thinking about? You either know or, you know if you require this. So a couple of things that I used to do because I was not willing to have a look at money in my life. And I knew that I needed to put it in my face. So a few tools at the end of each day, I would destroy and uncreate everywhere that I have uninvited money today. Just that. I don't have to write a list. I don't have to go to the wrong list. I don't have to judge. And I would destroy and uncreate everywhere that I was, that I had uninvited money. Right and wrong, good and bad, cock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And then what I did, which I thought this one was hilarious, I'm going to see if I can find this real easy, is on my phone, right, as my text, what I ended up doing was I brought it on the App Store, this is my text tone that I did so that I could have money in my face. You know what I mean? And let's go. Can you hear that?
I love it.
You know what it is? It's a cash counter, right?
Cash counter.
And,
Yeah.
and then the song that I had as the song when my phone rang was this. Pink Floyd's Money, you know, and I did that because I knew that I needed to have it in my face and really look at what I was avoiding and what I was refusing. So if you have and be willing to have a look at the staff that you have in your shops as well. It's like, are they actually willing to receive money? They don't have to have a whole lot of money, but if they're not willing to receive money and they have a judgment about money and a point of view about money, then they will not allow you to also make money and receive money. So again, it's not about walking in and being like, right, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. It's like, what invitation can you be for everyone to not have a point of view or judgment about money?
Yeah. And what questions can they ask? And the one thing that I always love too about you is, I know I've heard you talk about this on other podcasts, is being congruent too. So when people come in, there's always something that I could find to say to somebody that was congruent. You know, if I'm not like, hey, you look amazing today, ma'am, how are you doing? And, you know, they're coming in with a bun and sweatpants and slippers. And they're like, really? Do I really look amazing? Really?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Really? Or, you know, I'd be like,
no.
Yeah, like, wow, I love your earrings. Or, you know, like really finding something that I could say about whoever I was conversing with. There was actually, you know, congruent, you know, even if it was something silly where I was like, wow, I really like your purse, like, you know, in a different way. So there is a way of, you know, just interacting with people too, and your questions being really congruent in your, you know, your interactions and engagement, and being fun.
Yeah.
You know, being fun. Yeah. I had this amazing lady say to me one time, and I'm not going to quote Simone, but it was like somebody was asking, you know, how to have more clients or, you know, more people to their classes or whatever it is that you have. And you're like, the most irresistible thing is being you. Like when you're you, it's the most irresistible thing. And, you know, that's being whether you're a salesman, whether you're a shop owner, whether it's online sales, you know, like whatever you're doing, you know, when you're actually willing to be you, you know, whatever that is for you, whatever, you know, like maybe a lot of people don't like to talk, but if you're going to be a salesman in the front of a shop, you hopefully you like to engage with people, but
yes, exactly. And I just want to add to that too, because being you, like, you know, what if you decided being you is like, so many people look at, oh, well, then I've got to be happy and jovial and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, no, some days you are a little, you know, you have this little kink in your world, and please, this is not about bleeding on your clients or your customers, but you could be like, you know what, it's like, yeah, today's been a little strange for me, but hey, how does it get any better than this? You know, ask a question, like, don't try and pretend something that you're not. So if you're not having the greatest day in the world, you can address it, but add that question, like, hey, you know, I'm asking what else is possible. You know, hey, how's your day been? And then switch it over to them as well. And one thing I want to say too is when you're engaging with customers and clients in a shop or in a restaurant or whatever it is for you, bring them to where you are. Like that. I mean, I love that Becky referred to it as an experience, because you don't sort of want to, like, they've walked into your shop and then it's not like you want to go, hey, what's your favorite restaurant? Then you've just taken them out of your shop to the local restaurants, you know, rather than, it's like, keep the conversation within where you are. And is it a manipulation? Absolutely. But you know what? It's like, living is a manipulation. Don't you manipulate your kids, you know, your friends, husband, lovers and stuff like that all the time? And it's like, you can manipulate by flirting, by a look in your eyes, you know, and it's like, that's part of it. And if you have a judgment about manipulation, I would destroy and uncreate everything that you are judging about manipulation, because if you are not willing to manipulate, then you will be the one that ends up getting manipulated. So everything that is times a godzillion, right, wrong, good and bad, pock and parona, and shorts, boys and beyonds.
That was a good one.
Tick. So Becky, we're almost at the end of our show here, but is there what else, like, is there anything else that you would like to leave the listeners with here with having that, I want to say, like, that adventure and that exploration of what you can be in the world with your business and with clients and customers?
Oh, well, for me, like what I found and has been very successful for me, like I don't always know what I'm doing, like I do, but I don't, I went into experiences and really had no idea. But when I would go into, let's say, these stores and whatever it was, what you already said, it was like, I would have fun and I would be all in, no matter what no matter what, if I'm choosing it, I'm here, like I'm all in. And so then, like, who do I need to talk to? What do I need to do? Like, who's coming in? Where can I take them? And then really just being willing to then enjoy myself and have like the experience. Because, like if you're not having fun and then you're not like having this vivaciousness, like they're not going to either.
I love that. And we mentioned right at the beginning of the podcast about the photo that I saw of you bodybuilding, and you said I didn't really know what I was doing. And I get that same energy of that vivaciousness and you just having fun and then choosing all the time. And it's funny, when you're talking too, I was looking at, well, have a look at when you have sex, sex and copulation. It's like, do you work out exactly what it's going to be beforehand, or do you just like going? And when you're going to choose, be all in and have fun and be you and be vivacious. So what if you brought that into every aspect of your life? Yeah. Love it. Thank you so much, Becky. Thank you for being here. I'm so grateful for you. And where can people find you? You're an access consciousness facilitator.
Yeah. And that's been the most fun for me. You can also find me on my website. It's www.becky-vannes.com.
Awesome.
Because BeckyVannes.com is my realtor page. I'm also a realtor. So you can go to either or, but you'll find me.
She's a woman that wears many, many different hats. And can I just say, congratulations on all the different hats that you do wear. And quite often, I know for myself, in many different things I was doing, it was a constant projection at me that I couldn't, quote unquote, make up my mind because I was doing so many different things and creating so many different things. That's not true, ladies and gentlemen. If that sounds so familiar to you, or you would like to add more to your life and your business, please go ahead and do it. It's like, what's the worst thing that can happen? You stumble and fall, it works out, it doesn't work out. And it's like, but hey, it's like, you're creating your life. And it's like, and as I always say, your business is your life and your life is your business. So let's have way too much fun.
Yes. And I actually used to do that. And then I found this book. It was The Joy of Business. And I was like, oh, I could actually have several things going on. And that was even before I ever took like any type of class that Simone was mentioning earlier. I read the book and just by using those tools, I created $1 million business. So it's been fun.
Cool. Yeah, I have created over $1 million easily using Access Consciousness tools. So whatever you do, guys, don't go check out Access Consciousness. You
don't
can
use
get my book, Joy of Business, that Becky just mentioned. And also my second book I wrote was called Getting Out of Debt Joyfully. And you can get those on Amazon, Booktopia, all those areas as well. So thank you so much for being on here. And ladies and gentlemen, do your thing, subscribe, follow, all of that. And I look forward to seeing you somewhere in the world soon. Yeah. Bye-bye. If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to hit the follow or subscribe button on your favorite listening platform to get notified of new episodes. We read all the reviews, so if there's any topic you would like to hear about, let us know. If you'd like to know more about the tools, information, and classes mentioned in the podcast, head on over to SimoneMilasas.com and follow me on Instagram at SimoneMilasas, and that's MILASAS. Don't forget, you can download the show notes. And lastly, have way too much fun today.